Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday, April 12th. I'm going to have to speak very quickly on this video, so feel free to save it, listen back to it as many times as you want, and take notes. But in order to keep it under 10 minutes, I'm going to have to speak very, very quickly in this video. I took an extensive list of notes of all of the different levers of control that the United States could use to win the Chinese trade war. A lot of people think that we're going very hard in the paint against China by raising our tariffs to 125%, and it's the very tip of the iceberg on what we could do in order to win a trade war. So I took a bunch of extensive notes because I knew that I was going to have to speak very, very quickly in order to keep this under 10 minutes. Okay, so you're just going to have to save it, play it back as many times as you want. Okay, here are the things that we are not doing that we could do in order to win this trade war. Number one, we could do SWIFT restrictions, right? We push to limit Chinese banks' access to the Swiss payment system for targeted violations, sanctions, evasions. It's a gut punch to their global trade. Chinese exporters and importers would scramble, coordinate with Europe to avoid blowback, so they'd hate that disruption. We could do dollar transaction bans. Okay, we could sanction major Chinese banks like ICBC and CCB from dollar-based transactions. Okay, this chokes their ability to finance their debt. Okay. Risk, China might accelerate yuan-based systems, okay? They do have a competing system to the SWIFT, but let me give you the numbers on it. It's called the CIPS system, okay? Within the CIPS systems, which uses yuan as its exchange for trade, there's $17 trillion worth of trade going through the CIPS systems that the Chinese Communist Party controls, okay? The rest of the trade is done through the SWIFT system, which the United States controls. Here are the numbers. There's 17 trillion in trade through the CIPS system. Within the Swiss system, there's 1.25 quadrillion of trade. Okay. That means that the United States within the SWIFT system controls 98.64% of trade. China controls 1.36% of trade. So we could do that. We could do debt market freezes. Okay. We could discourage the U.S. and its allied investors from buying Chinese bonds. Okay. If China's $10 trillion bond market loses foreign appetite, borrowing costs spike for them, okay, stressing their already shaky local governments. We could do precision tariffs, okay, over and above the blanket tariffs. We could do import bans, right? We could target sectors and tie it to the human rights abuses that are going on within China right now, right? For those of you who don't know, they have current concentration camps in China, okay? So we could easily put pressure on the European community and do import bans based on their human rights violations. Okay, it's a PR win and it disrupts their supply chains. We could do rare earth leverage, which we are doing, right? We could restrict China's access to U.S. sourced mining technology. Okay, keep in mind, China has a robust mining capability, but they don't make all of their mining equipment. We have U.S. domestic, like Caterpillar, okay? Now, they have to make the component parts in order to repair it. And if you don't understand mining equipment, right, like on some of the largest earth movers, an individual single tire costs $350,000. Okay, it's a different world within the mining. The mining haul trucks, sit 7 stories high, your driver's seat. So you can't even imagine the capacity for earth moving. However, if we do a mining tech ban, then they don't have the repair parts to repair all of their U.S. Mining equipment that they have purchased. Okay, we could also employ a chip choke point. Okay, we can expand our export controls on advanced semiconductors and chip making tools, ASML, TSMC, okay, for those in the tech community. China's artificial intelligence and military tech needs 5-nanometer chips. They can't produce those yet. They don't have the technology. China is very far behind, right? You're getting propagandized that they're extremely ahead on technology when they're 70 years behind. We could do software sanctions, okay? Did you know that most of the world, the United States has most of the world's eggs head, and we develop the largest percentage, greater than 90% of the software on Earth, okay? They don't have the code writers that we have, right? So we could do software sanctions and ban Chinese firms from U.S. developed software critical for their technology. Think like EDA tools, cloud services. Huawei's Harmony OS is still years behind. And we could do investment blocks. Okay, we could veto Chinese acquisitions of Western tech firms and tighten scrutiny on venture capital flows. We could starve their startups of the know-how cash because we have the venture capital, right? We could put they just went through a property crash, right? And 30% of their GDP is tied to their real estate values, which just got devalued 8.5%, right? We could sanction firms tied to China's $60 trillion real estate bubble. Okay. If foreign creditors pull out, defaults cascade, shaking confidence in their financial system, we could do a local government squeeze. Okay. We could target the bonds issued by China's debt-laden provinces outside of Beijing, right? If global investors dump these, then their local infrastructure grinds to a halt, and Beijing has to bail them out and drain their $3 trillion in reserves. We could do currency games. We could signal U.S.'s willingness to counter the yuan manipulation. If China devalues to boost exports, retaliate with sanctions on their forex traders, okay? It spooks markets and makes their currencies less reliable, destabilize their currency, right? We could do a trade diversion, okay? We could offer allies like India, Vietnam, Mexico, zero tariff deals to shift manufacturing away from China. Their export machine, which is $3.5 trillion annually, stalls without buyers. Okay, so we could offer other countries sweetheart deals. We could do belt and road sabotage. Okay, outbid China on infrastructure because our economy is larger. Deals in Africa and Southeast Asia with better terms and zero debt traps in them. You're going to have to look up what a debt trap is. Okay, if their Belt Road Initiative projects dry up, then their global influence takes a gigantic hit. We could do a capital flight trigger. We could publicize corruption in China's elites, freezing offshore assets of the CCP insiders in places like Singapore and London. It sparks distrust and could push wealthy Chinese money out, weakening the yuan. We could do a stock market dump, okay? We could encourage U.S. pension funds and our ETFs to divest from Chinese stocks, right? A sell-off tanks their $9 trillion equity market and spooks retail investors and dries up their capital. We could do a commodity squeeze, okay? We could lock up global supplies of oil with our robust economy, gas, soybeans, via long-term contracts with Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and Canada. China's import dependency, which is their import dependency is they have to import 70% of their oil and 40% of their food. They don't have domestic capacity there. It becomes a liability and we could spike their prices, right? And their people don't have enough money to do it. Their GDP per capita is only $12,000 per citizen. So if we spike the prices in their side, their people don't eat, right? And then that makes them more willing to come to the negotiation table. We could short their banks. We could short their banks, okay? And it's legally questionable, but we could signal hedge funds to start shorting Chinese financial institutions. A coordinated bet against their over-leveraged banks could trigger panic, and we could crash their banking system. We could do financial cyber operations. If escalation's on the table, then disrupt the Chinese stock exchanges or payment systems. That has a very high risk of retaliation, so probably don't do that one. I'm just giving you all the different tools that we're not employing. We could expose weaknesses by leaking data on Chinese hidden debts and shadow banking to the global media and on X platforms. Okay. Transparency forces Beijing to address problems publicly, shaking their investor confidence. We could amplify defaults. Okay. We could highlight every Chinese corporate default to global investors. It creates a narrative of instability, making their bonds and stocks toxic. Okay. We could avoid overreach, blanket sanctions. I guess that's good because I'm almost at 10 minutes. There's everything that we are not using in order to win the trade war. Okay? For those people that are just coming new to tariffs, there's everything you don't know, right? On all of the different levers of control that we could use through our control of global trade, through our control of currency, and our reserve currency. We're going soft on China. If we wanted to, we could go really hard. Have a great day.